about in Washington. More importantly, all of us as Republicans tend to know the name Art Laffer and the Laffer Curve. Now, many people think the Laffer Curve and the Reagan tax cuts go hand in hand. How many people think that? Okay, raise your hands later. It's a popular idea. Art Laffer will tell you that's just not so. What actually the Laffer Curve is all about, and you do actually know the answer to this, the Laffer Curve is about how you feel about incremental work. It's about whether you get up in the morning saying, if I work a little harder and I make a little more, am I going to get to keep the lion's share of it? It's really about the incentive that is taken away by punitive taxes versus a flatter, fairer tax causing people to work harder and harder and harder. The bargain that was in place, not when the tax cut of 1982 went into place, but the bargain that was in place in 1986 when all these loopholes were taken away and a very flat, very fair 28% was put in its place. Whether you were paying 15 because you were a little lower, or you're paying the 28 because you were doing well, you knew that government wasn't being punitive, and in fact, you could sort of in your mind say, 75 cents out of every dollar I get to keep. It's sort of, you round things off. You felt good about it. They take a quarter of it, which rose to 28 during negotiations, because that's what happens in Congress. We lost that. We're going to be at 39.6. California's going to take 10.55. Then there's going to be a 3% from the Obamacare, et cetera, et cetera. Pretty soon people are going to say one thing, which is, I can't have anything left over unless I start finding loopholes. And they'll come to Washington and they'll negotiate loopholes and they'll try to get little carve-outs and craziness. And we're right back to the same problem. Instead of an honest, fair system that says government has legitimate needs and we tax for it, and American people have a right to every penny that they can possibly have to invest or to spend as they see fit, that will be lost again. So when we talk about tax reform, I'm not going to argue over the Bush tax cuts versus not tax cuts. I think, in fact, we have to make this tax code work in a way in which the American people stop believing that somebody else is paying for it, when in fact, most of it's being paid for by borrowed money. Not most of it, but a third of it by borrowed money. I'm going to draw this to a close because I can talk about the Obama administration and the craziness they do, and none of them will be surprised. But let's talk about earlier things. Let's talk about ourselves. When Bill Clinton left office, there was an organization started by Ronald Reagan by executive order called the Mineral Management Service. When President Bush was sworn in, shortly after that it was discovered that under Clinton's watch, the Mineral Management Service had put together what was effectively defective contracts for their very cozy relationship with natural gas and oil producers. And the way that natural gas contracts worked, as natural gas went up in price, instead of essentially they're starting to pay their fair share, which was supposed to be 17 or so percent, they weren't going to have to. And it was absolutely a violation of government regulations that had been started with a bill by Congressman Ken Calvert, which was law. I mean, they just absolutely did it. The contract's defective. In 2005, after repeated attempts to get that information to the Bush administration and have them act on it, I used, for the only time I did as a subcommittee chairman, used the subpoena power, one time, subpoenaed the 5 presidents of the oil companies. Now, the amazing thing is I didn't subpoena them to beat them around the head and shoulders, although they deserved it for the fact that they've used this agency as like a personal tool for years of rubber stamping whatever they wanted to do, some of it good, some of it not good. I called them in so they would tell us what we had already learned in public, which was Mineral Management Service was too cozy, it was corrupt, it was a revolving door. It didn't care even when the oil companies themselves, in written and oral correspondence, pointed out the defects in the contracts. They said, don't worry about it, even though it was billions of dollars of your money. And when President Bush left office, we had not recovered a penny. The Mineral Management Service had not changed, and there had been 3 more IG reports, another GAO study, all saying the same thing. As a Republican who started that investigation, in more than enough time to reform Mineral Management Service before the people of the Gulf paid an incredibly high price economically and environmentally. I'm ashamed. I'm ashamed that Republicans were not zealots against flaws in government that were pointed out by inspector generals. How would that happen on Iraq? Let me give you one more. Now, the Democrats and Republicans flip back and forth in Washington, but I'll tell you something that didn't change. Angelo Mazzillo, a resident, I think still, I think he's being indicted, but right now he's still a resident of the Los Angeles area. He came up with something called the Friends of Angelo program at the early parts of the boom in the home industry. And he was putting together the largest packager of mortgages. He figured out that if he included in the Friends of Angelo, not just his friends, not just the employees of Countrywide, but he included at least 20 key members of the financial service staff of the Senate, many of them working for Senator Bennett, a Republican, people working for Barney Frank, a Democrat, people working for Mike Oxley, a Republican, and he gave them loans. Now, you've all heard about Chris Dodd getting his loan from Friends of Angelo, and that's a scandal for the Democrats. But this scandal is bipartisan. Angelo Mazzillo was giving hundreds of thousands of dollars in discounts on loans selectively to people who could help him. They gave 173 of these specially managed VIP loans to people at Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. And guess what? Those organizations took this. Are we allowed to say crap at a convention? Well, let's just say these sub-S loans, subprime loans, which is another name for what I said earlier, they took them by the bucket load. There's $6 trillion worth of marginal, bad, and ever-defaulting loans over at the GSEs, Freddie and Fannie. And the largest pool of those, by far, came from Countrywide. The whole point was Countrywide created friends over there that would take anything they packaged up, and they made a lot of money on it. And Angelo Mazzillo didn't actually hide this, he did it in plain sight. Well, today in the Congress under Democrats, both of the Democrats who we pointed out had received these loans were given ethical clearance. The U.S. Senate, on a bipartisan basis, included Republicans, said that they didn't see an ethics violation there. Shame on them. So I'm here tonight, I said I was a social conservative, I didn't talk about one social program. I'm talking about the most important thing for the liberty of every American. The ability to have what we believe is right should be fought out front and at the ballot box. And organizations like ACORN, or organizations that can buy off government officials to take debt and put it on our back when in fact these loans should never have been made, should not be bought behind closed doors. So when I say why I have the best job in Washington, and with your help and the voters' help, I'm going to have the best job in the world come January of next year, it's because it's not that it's Obama I get to oversee. It's not that my subpoena power is going to bring down a president. It's that it can, and with your help, it will change America to a country in which there is transparency in government, there is a degree of honesty in government, and the only people that fear their government will be those who have done wrong. And the people in government that will fear the people are those who are doing wrong. So I want to thank you for being here tonight. I want to thank you for being part of this revolution. And with God's help and the voters' indulgence, we're going to change America to the country we really want it to be. And that means we are going to be the home of the free and hopefully the hope of people who understand it's our government. We do not give them money because they want it. We give them money only when they need it. And right now they have more than they need, and we need to change that. Thank you all. God bless you.